If you don't yet know who Ray Dalio is, then you are in for a treat. He founded and runs the largest hedge fund in the world, Bridgewater, which manages around 140 billion of other people's money. A hedge fund is basically for high net worth clients. Often you need about $100 million just to be able to invest. And the reason this video is so important is because I'm going to show you where Ray Dalio puts his own money, and guess what? I'm not going to charge you $100 million. I'm going to show you all this for free. I've done a few billionaire portfolios now, including Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, but they are business people who also invest. I also did the portfolio of Warren Buffett, but Warren started buying stocks at age 11, so he had plenty of time for compounding. For me, Ray Dalio is the one to watch. He started from very humble beginnings, and he also lost 90% of his wealth early on in a crash, which he not only had to recover from, he built the largest hedge fund in the world. So this will be a breakdown of his company, Bridgewater Associates, and I'll also include some of the Ray Dalio quotes, so you get an idea of how he thinks as well. As always, if you find anything in this video useful, be sure to click that like button. It would be much appreciated, and every like does help. Okay, sit back and relax. Here is the investment portfolio of Bridgewater, Ray Dalio's company. So here is what we've got coming up. We're first going to look at a 13F filing, as this is something that's quite important that I think every investor should know about. We'll then look at Ray Dalio's portfolio, and then we'll finish with the performance against the S&P 500. School typically doesn't prepare young people for real life, unless their lives are spent following instructions and pleasing others. In my opinion, that's why so many students who succeed in school fail in life. So the question is, how do we know what Ray Dalio invests in? Because Bridgewater Associates is actually a private company, so it's not publicly listed. Unlike Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, we can actually see exactly what he invests in. But with Ray Dalio, how do we know? Well, the answer is the Security and Exchange Commission's Form 13F. So what is it? It was created in 1975 by Congress, and the idea was to increase the confidence and the integrity of the nation's financial markets. So basically, any big institution that has over $100 million in assets must declare what they are buying. And this is great for us. So smaller investors like ourselves can use these filings to determine what the smart money is doing. We can basically take a look at the big guys and see where they are investing. Just note that this is done on a quarterly basis, so it's always about 3 months behind. Now, generally this isn't too bad because the major positions won't change that much in 3 months. They're long-term positions. Find the most believable people possible who disagree with you and try to understand their reasoning. Now, this is such an important quote because what happens is that we all take stances on things. We have our favorite stocks, we have our favorite investments, but we all have confirmation bias. So we seek out everything that backs up what we already believe. Now, the best people in the world will look for people who disagree with them and then try to understand their reasoning. Why do they disagree? Because it's what you don't know that can potentially take you down. Okay, so here it is, guys. This is Ray Dalio's portfolio. And just note, this company actually has 383 different positions. And this is just the top 50 or so. And this is a $6 billion portfolio. Now, analyzing a portfolio like this is a bit too big, so I'm a big fan of the Pareto principle, and I think it's more useful if we just look at the major positions and we'll group up the smaller ones. So you can see in the portfolio, there's some big positions. There's lots of positions that are only 1%, and then you've got lots of fraction positions. So what I'm gonna do is group together all the 1% and all the fractions into one. This way, it'll be much easier to analyze. Okay, so here we go. Let's reveal this portfolio. 28% of it is in an S&P 500 ETF. 16% is in gold ETF. 9% is in another S&P 500 ETF. 8% in emerging markets ETF. 5% in another gold ETF. 4% in the Alibaba group. 3% in a China large cap ETF. 3% in a total market China ETF, 3% in a developed markets ETF, 3% in a developed markets excluding US and Canada ETF. We have corporate bonds ETF, iShares Trust, and then the last piece, I've grouped it together. So this last 14% is actually 41 different positions. So there it is, guys. This is the portfolio of one of the best investors in the world. So instead of just leaving it there and thinking, oh, that was interesting, I'm going to pull out some key insights which I saw so we can use this to become better investors ourselves. So the first thing that jumped out to me is all the ETFs. Check out all the different ETFs. So these are not individual stocks, these are groups and collections of stocks. Now, when you compare this to Warren Buffett's portfolio was all individual stocks. There's not one ETF in sight. So you can see he's got Apple, Bank of America, Coca-Cola, American Express, Kraft Heinz, Moody's, not one ETF in sight. Then you have Ray Dalio, which is all ETFs. The next big thing to note is that his largest position was in an S&P 500 ETF. And in fact, position 1 and also position 3 is an S&P 500 ETF. So almost 40% of this entire portfolio is an S&P 500 ETF. The next big thing I noted was the fact that he loves gold. So you can see position 2 is the Spider Gold Trust ETF. But also position 5 is gold as well. And when you add these together, I've even color coordinated it. So you can see the two positions are naturally colored gold. And you can see over 20% of this portfolio is in gold. So he's a huge fan of gold, which means if you add up just the S&P 500 and gold, over 60% of this portfolio is just the S&P 500 and gold. Next insight that jumped out at me was there's only one individual stock in this entire portfolio, and that's Alibaba. So obviously he's a huge fan of this company. Another thing which jumped out to me is that where are the bonds? So Ray Dalio's got another very famous portfolio called the All-Weather Portfolio, and 2/3 of that portfolio is made up of bonds, where here there's just one listing for bonds. And that was the corporate bond ETF, but it's only 2%. So this is incredibly stock heavy. And the last point is that of all the different countries that he could pick from, it's China that he's got here. So not India, not Japan, not anything in Malaysia. As far as individual countries go, he's betting on China. And you can see with the ETFs, this is an incredibly diversified portfolio. On diversification. The problem is, every single asset class that you love will have a day where it drops 50 to 70%. And if it's later in life, you won't have time to make up for it. So let's take a look at the performance against the S&P 500. So the only thing I could find on performance was from a website called HedgeFollow, and this is only a 5-year chart. So the S&P over the last 5 years has done about 12.3% on average, and the Bridgewater portfolio, interestingly, has only done 7% per year. So it is trailing below the S&P 500. However, if the S&P 500 goes down, the Bridgewater portfolio is a lot more protected. With a larger position in gold, it could very well outperform the S&P. So as long as stocks are doing well, the S&P will be ahead. But in today's economy, with what's going on, the Bridgewater portfolio could make a lot more sense. If you're not failing, you're not pushing your limits. And if you're not pushing your limits, you're not maximizing your potential. So there you are, guys. That was the investment portfolio of one of the best investors in the world. As you can see, I think it's fair to say that Ray loves ETFs and also gold. As mentioned before, I have done some other billionaire portfolios, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos. So if you'd like to see those, I'll put some links in the description below. For now, if you liked anything in this video, be sure to click that like button. It would be much appreciated, and every like does help. If you haven't yet subscribed, be sure to click the subscribe button below and join us. I've got some great videos coming up that you don't want to miss. And tell me, what do you think about Ray Dalio's portfolio? If you've got any questions, any comments, just post them below. Okay, cheers guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.